It's the end of July, and that means it's time to count down the most impactful moments of the past athletic season. No better place to start than beating up on the Dukies.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, July 29th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch. Special shout out goes to all the everydayers and all the members of our Locked On Tar Heels Discord family. Glad that you're all here. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. In the dog days of summer, the sports stop sportsing like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, we've come to the last 3 days of July, today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and that means it's time for our second annual countdown of the top 10 most impactful moments or things or teams or people, whatever, of the 2023-24 UNC Athletics year. And then in August, right, we're going to start later this month, later next month, I guess in August, we start the 2024-25 season. There's football in August, right? So it's a great time to do this now at the end of July. So again, this is going to be over the next 3 days, the top 10, in my opinion, most impactful things from 23-24. Again, totally my opinions. I'd love to hear yours, right? What stood out to you? What stuck out to you? So we're going to do 10 through 7 today, 6 through 4 tomorrow, and 3 to 1 on Wednesday. So as we dive in today, we're going to get into, in the first 4 entries on this list, a sweep of a rival, some deja vu for the football team, and a pair of individual national championships. That's where we're headed. So let's get right into it. Number 10, Carolina both sweeps and dominates Duke in men's basketball as the transfers shine this year. Look, I don't know if this should be number 10 on the list, but it's never a wrong time to start by talking about beating Duke, and so I put it here. Let's set some context. Duke gets back Kyle Filipowski, Mark Mitchell, Tyrese Proctor. Everyone's talking about him. Another loaded incoming freshman class. They were preseason number 2 in the AP poll, and it's like, oh, Duke, we should all fear Duke. You know how it goes every time. I say this like every offseason. Let them win the offseason. Let's beat them on the court, and that's what Carolina did again, sweeping Duke both home and on the road. The first game in the Smith Center, February 3rd, Carolina wins 93-84. This was the Harrison Ingram game. 21 points, 5 of 9 from 3, 8 of 12 from the floor, 13 boards, an assist, a block, and 4 steals. My word. I love that these 2 games, and we'll get to the second one in a second, really showcased the 2 most prominent transfers last year, this one being the Harrison Ingram game. So, and this is fun to relive and recap and think back on these. So, in the first game, the one at home, Carolina takes an early lead in the game. It wasn't a blowout right out of the gate, but Carolina got a couple possession lead. Duke eventually ties it up, but then Carolina pushes back out to a 10-point halftime lead. And what I love is that you think about Duke, and there's always that Duke push in the second half. It never happened in this game, or at least it didn't. Carolina kept responding because Duke never got any closer than 7 points in the second half. Carolina ends up winning by 9. Now, this was the Harrison Ingram game, but let's not forget Armando Bacot had 25 and 10, 5 assists. He was 10 of 13 from the field. Really, really good stuff from Mondo there in his final home game against Duke. The second game, the rematch to end the regular season back in Cameron, Carolina wins this one 84-79, so a closer final score, but a bigger lead in the first half for Carolina, but a tighter second half. It was kind of weird in that way. This game was on March 9th, and as a reminder, it clinched the regular season outright championship for the Tar Heels. And if the first one was the Harrison Ingram game, this one, friends, was the Cormac Ryan game. Homie scored 31 points. Like, what on earth? He had a fine year, but you're lying to me and yourself if you said you saw 31 points coming from Cormac Ryan on that night. And I'll never forget the images of the bus riding back down Franklin Street and Cormac on top of the bus with the trophy. Great stuff. Cormac, 8 of 12 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. Harrison Ingram pitched in 14 points, 10 boards. Really crazy stuff. This game was an even faster start than the other one. Carolina was up 15 points just over 7 minutes into the game. It was just silly. It was ridiculous. Cormac was just hitting everything. Carolina was still up by 9 at halftime. Now, in a difference from the first game, Duke actually did get closer in the second half. This time they cut it to 1, but Carolina held the lead. Duke never tied it. Duke never led in the second half. And so Carolina just did a great job of holding on and maintaining it. And you expect a better push from Duke at home, but still, it was never ultimately enough. And so what I love about this is not just winning, but the way Carolina swept Duke this year. In game 1, Carolina led for 38 minutes and 4 seconds of the 40 minutes of the game. Duke, I almost like this better. Instead of 0, they led for 16 seconds, and that was all in the first minute of the game. Duke scored the first bucket. Carolina tied it up just barely into the game, and then Duke never tied it again, or maybe they tied it again, but they never led again. In the second game, Carolina led for 39 minutes and 43 seconds of the 40 minutes. Duke never led. So in total, of the 80 minutes played this year between Carolina and Duke, the Tar Heels led for 77 minutes and 47 seconds. Duke led for 16 seconds. I love it so much. It is just awesome when you get to dominate Duke in those ways. And to see that, obviously Duke went a little bit further in the postseason, but ultimately lost to NC State as they were making their miraculous run in the postseason. So great way to kick off our countdown here, talking about sweeping the Dukies. Would love to do it again this year. Now, next we move from talking about the basketball team to the football team. The Carolina football team has started on fire each of the last 2 years, but things haven't gone quite as well after that. We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Ibotta. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer, but you're dreading the cost? With Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases so you can spend more time making memories and less time dreaming about them. With Ibotta, you can earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or a fancy dinner that you've been craving. So it's time you join the over 50 million users who choose Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. Again, that's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONCollege. We're counting down the 10 most impactful athletics moments from the past school year for Carolina. Number 10 is sweeping the Dukies. Number 9, for the second year in a row, it was a tale of 2 football seasons for the football team. It's deja vu all over again. Look, I know what I just said. It's a joke. It's a family inside joke. Deja vu all over again. I love to say it. You can use it too. So remember, 2022, Carolina gets off to a 9-1 start. The lone loss to Notre Dame, totally understandable. And you've got Georgia Tech at home and NC State at home coming up. You figure Carolina is going to win one, if not both of those games, to get to double-digit wins. Plus, they had already clinched a spot in the ACC championship game and a bowl game. So you got 4 games left. You just got to win one to get to double digits. Well, we know how that went. Heels lose 21-17 to Georgia Tech, 30-27 to NC State in overtime. They weren't really competitive against Clemson in the ACC championship game, and then just skin of their teeth lost to Oregon 28-27 in the Holiday Bowl. Just never did get that guaranteed 10th win. It's like, all right, let's flip the script. 2023 is going to be Drake Maye's last year. Let's make this bad boy happen. But as I said, 2023 was deja vu all over again. An even better start this time. 6-0 start for Carolina. Started off the season 31-17 win over South Carolina, 40-34 two overtime win over App State, 31-13 at home against Minnesota, 41-24 against Pitt, 40-7 against Syracuse, and 41-31 over Miami. Hey, remember what Miami did against Georgia Tech? That was awesome. Okay, so Carolina starts out 6-0 in those games, including beating Miami to cap that run. They scored 30 or more points in all 6 of those games. And so at that point, it's like, yeah, the defense might not be stellar, but if Drake Maye's putting up 30 points a game, who cares? You can outscore just about anybody. But then the rest of the way, Carolina went 2-5. And one of those wins was Campbell. So the very next game, game 7, Carolina is playing Virginia at home on the CW. Virginia at this point in the season has won 1 game against William and Mary. In fact, they went on to win only 1 other game all season long. That was against Duke. And what did the Tar Heels do? They lose to Virginia at home on the CW, 31-27. One of Virginia's just 3 wins on the season, along with William and Mary and Duke. Oh, but it's like, okay, sure, fine. That's awful, but you're still 6-1. You're still bowl eligible. You can maybe get to 10 wins. But then the Georgia Tech jinx carries on. Tar Heels go down to Atlanta, lose 42-46. They beat Campbell, as you expect, 59-7, just beat up on them. Thankfully, beat Duke right after that, 47-45 in 2 overtimes, another 2 overtime games. And at that point, you're 8-2, and it's like, that stinks what happened, Virginia and Georgia Tech. But we got Clemson, a rematch against NC State, and then a bowl game. Maybe we can get 2 of those 3 and get home. Lost all 3 of them. 31-20 to Clemson, 39-20 to NC State, and 30-10 to West Virginia. And I mean, the West Virginia thing is totally understandable because there's so many guys opting out of that game, not playing in it and all that. But still, like, not the NC State game was over before it started, basically. I mean, that was no chance. And so back-to-back years of this is almost befuddling. Like, to try to wrap my brain around the fact that the football team literally did this same thing 2 years in a row of getting off to this massively hot start. You know, this year, getting in 2023, getting into the top 10. You've got what you know is Drake Maye's last year. You finally get Tez Walker eligible. You've got a loaded tight end room, all this great stuff. And it's Cedric Gray's last year, right? You've got Elijah Huzzy. You've got Kamen Rucker exploding. You got Omarion Hampton in the backfield. All these great things. And you just go out and lay these eggs. And here's what was frustrating to me, this specific in 2023, is you kind of expect that you're not going to beat Clemson. And I know they lost, Duke right at the beginning of the season, and they weren't as good, but they had been getting better at that point. It's like, yeah, okay, I get that. It's a game at Clemson. And then, man, that NC State game. But what stinks is you really shouldn't have lost to Virginia or to Georgia Tech. And if you win both of those games, you're 10-0 heading into the Clemson game, and you're like, we got our double-digit wins, and anything else is just icing on the cake. And so I think you can stomach a loss to Clemson there. That'd make you 10-1. The NC State loss would still be very, very painful at that point, right? Like, I think we can admit and acknowledge that. And at that point, if you're 10-1 and you're rolling a little bit more, maybe you have that momentum into the NC State game and you can win that, be 11-1. Even if you lose it, you're 10-2 and you're staring down the barrel of a much better bowl game. And then maybe some of those guys stick around and play. But it was not meant to be. So I I think we're all in this place now, friends. I think you agree with me where it's like, look, I know there's no more Drake Maye this year, but whether it's Connor Harrell or Mr. Johnson, whoever's starting under center, we got to get this defense in line. We got to have not who like you might start 7-0 and it's like it don't matter because now we're all just sitting around waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so it's going to be a very interesting football season, and I have no idea what to expect. But how crazy that it was a tale of two football seasons 2 years in a row. All right. We so often talk about team national championships around at North Carolina, but boy, some of those individual national championships are pretty sweet as well. We had a couple Olympic sport national champs this year, and that's going to be the next two things, the next two entries on our countdown list. Stay with us. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But in the dog days of summer, it's true, we get fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like we want them to. But the good news is that FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do, open up the app, dream up bets anytime that you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. We're in the first week of the Olympics right now. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love the Olympics. There's all sorts of Olympics odds on FanDuel right now. Odds for the most gold medals won. U.S. leads away at minus 550. China is second at plus 350. And from there, it falls off a cliff. Third best odds is Great Britain at plus 4,200. How about the most total medals? This is even wilder. U.S. favored at minus 2,000. China second at plus 1,500. And then Great Britain and Japan are tied at plus 6,000 for third. You can do over-under medal counts for individual countries. So for United States, over-under total medals, 119 and a half. That's wild stuff. So if you want to get in on any of that action at FanDuel, head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer and the Olympics. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. We got two more items to get to on our countdown today, numbers 8 and 7. Pairing them together because it is a pair of individual national champions. Number one, Parker Wolf, or I say number one of this twosome. This is number 8 on our list. Parker Wolf wins the national championship in the 5K at the Outdoor Track and Field Championships in a time of 13 minutes and 54.43 seconds. Yo, have you ever done a 5K? Like, I'm doing good if I can get that bad boy in 30 minutes. Like I'm out here trying to run a 10-minute mile. Parker Wolf has already run like two and change of his miles in 10 minutes at that point. I mean, just it's stupid what these professional runners do. Anyway, 5K, really, really good stuff there. An amazing run. If you go back and watch the national championship race, Parker Wolf and two other guys kind of pull away from everybody else. And here's what's wild. The three of them are Nico Young from Northern Arizona, who is just right in front of Parker. Parker's at second, kind of on the final turn. And then the defending national champion in this race from Stanford is right behind Parker. And oh, by the way, Nico Young, who's in first, had just beaten Parker at indoors in the 5K and the 3K. So Parker's in between these two dudes, one who won this exact race last year, and the guy in front of him who's just beaten him twice at this distance and another distance at indoors. And so it's like, whoo, that's a tough call. You're happy to get on the podium. So they come around this back stretch, this back curve. Parker's in second. And I don't know if you know much about running. I don't know a ton about it, but I do know that there's a thing called a kick. And this is you kind of going at whatever pace you are. And then the last stretch, boom, all out, everything you got left in the tank. And Parker is known for having a great kick. So he kicks, takes over Nico Young, and neither Young or the dude from Stanford have anything for Parker to kick high enough with him, right? It's like pushing out a big lead and nobody can respond. I love to see it. It was beautiful racing, beautiful tactics by Parker. And by virtue, he was the NCAA national champion in this race. And several things that were cool about it. Parker is the first Tar Heel to win this race ever. He was the first Tar Heel outdoor national champion since 2007 individual. And get this, the first male Tar Heel to win a solo track national championship since 1950. That's doing something here. Carolina is known for a lot, but track and field isn't necessarily one of them. And so just absolutely unbelievable stuff from Parker there. I was so happy for him. But obviously, if you kept up with track and field at all this year, this was not his only accomplishment. He and the cross country team won the ACC team title. He and the indoor track and field team won the men's ACC team title. He's now an 8-time All-American. And oh man, this just absolutely gutted me for Parker Wolf. In this race, the 5K came so very close to making Team USA. And what a lot of people may not realize, when you get in these races and they'll say, all right, the top 3 in this race go to the Olympics. They're on Team USA, or the top 2 go on to Team USA. Well, in the 5K, Parker finished 3rd. And so it's like, yes, he's moving on. He's going to Paris. He's going to be on this Olympic team. But one of the things that you hear him start talking about at time trials is in a lot of races, whether it's track and field or swimming or in a field, like if it's shot put like a certain length, that's the Olympic standard. So there's a thing called the Olympic standard, which is a certain time that you have to be under in order to qualify for the Olympics. And so the problem is Parker did not, at the time trials, did not yet have the Olympic standard. So he was going to have to get it at the time trials to qualify for the Olympics, in addition to trying to make the team. So he comes in 3rd, and the Olympic standard for this race is 13:05. Remember, he 13:54 in the national championship. Parker comes in 3rd, but his time was 13:10.75. So 5 3/4 seconds off of that Olympic standard time. So based on that, he's not making it. However, there's like a secondary way you can get in, and that is based on world ranking. If you hit a certain threshold in the world ranking, then you can make it in on that, even if you don't have the Olympic standard. So we waited a couple days. The new and rankings come out, the ones that it's going to be based on, and Parker fell just shy of that boundary as well. My understanding, if I've read and studied it correctly, is that he just needed one more person ahead of him to scratch, and he would have been good, but it was not meant to be. All in all, though, all that said, what a year for Parker Wolf, both competing for North Carolina and for himself. Congratulations, dude. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Number 7 on our list to wrap up today's show. A repeat national champion, a repeat two-time national champion, Aranza Vázquez Montaño, back-to-back double national championships in diving. Last year, 2023, Aranza wins the individual 1-meter diving and 3-meter diving national championships. Great stuff there. She had already been an All-American in her freshman and sophomore years. But then, oh, by the way, followed it up this year by defending her national championship at both heights, the 1-meter and 3-meter. What? That's so cool. Like, it's almost easier to do in a team event where you got a bunch of you, but when you're just depending on yourself against the field, to go out and win not 1, but 2 national championships, and then come back the next year and do it all over again, really, really impressive stuff here from Vázquez Montaño. And some of those like little accolades with it. These 4 national championships that she's won are the only 4 diving national championships in Carolina history. Also, with her 4 national championships, she's just now the 4th Tar Heel ever in any sport to win 4 individual national championships. That's just completely insane. Homegirl, way to go. Now, also, similar to Parker, Vázquez Montaño in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, which was actually in 2021, she's Mexican national, was part of the Mexican diving team, competed. at the 3-meter. And guess what? She's doing it again this summer in Paris. Right now, she's there competing in the 3-meter. So while unfortunately Parker wasn't able to make it, Aranza was, and that's so cool, man. So make sure you check out the 3-meter women's diving and cheer her on. And that's one of those things where it's like, I know, we're probably all cheering for USA in most stuff, but sometimes, man, the Olympics, you just want to cheer for people achieving awesome things, right? And so make sure you get in there and cheer for Vázquez Montaño. All right, guys, that's the first entry in our 10 most impactful moments of athletics in Carolina this past year: 10, 9, 8, and 7. Just to recap what they all were. Number 10, Carolina sweeping and dominating Duke in men's basketball, while the transfers highlighted both of those wins. Number 9, tale of 2 football seasons again. Number 8, Parker Wolf's individual national championship in the outdoor 5K. And then number 7, Aranza Vázquez Montaño, back-to-back double national championships in diving. Crazy, crazy cool stuff. So make sure you don't miss the rest of our countdown. Tomorrow, Tuesday, will be number 6 through 4. And then on Wednesday, we will do 3 through 1, plus a few honorable mentions. I know that bumps. Usually Pack and I are together on Wednesday. Our show is going to be on Thursday of this week, so make sure that you tune in for that one. All right, if you're not subscribed to the show, go ahead and do that. Very easy, both on audio and video. If you haven't joined our Locked On Tar Heels Discord, come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. It's a great place to be. It's free to join. The link's in the show notes. We'd absolutely love to have you. All right, gang, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.